Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting Quentin Re2's video.
Oh, there you are. I know you're expecting me to say that.
This is non-canonical.
I know.
So I decided it would be fun if we did a video where Dad and I basically talked about his video, and after we record this, hopefully, his videos, and the story behind them and how they came to be and all that, because I guess people have mostly only experienced kind of the meta-narrative that we established in the video, whereas I feel like the story of why we did this and how it turned out is almost more interesting. And I get asked about it all the time, so I thought we could just talk about it. So the first thing that people always ask me is, how did this happen? How did you talk your dad into doing this idea? What would you say the answer to that question is?
It's kind of the other way around, because for years I kept joking, you know, I should take over your channel on April Fool's Day and maybe talk about the Henningverse. Or maybe, I don't even know if we'd come up with that yet.
For as far as I remember it, you had been watching the Henningverse in order just as a hobby.
Yes.
And I'd thought it was fun, and I had got you like Green Acres on DVD for Christmas one year. And then one day, in I feel like January, you come up to me and you say, hey, you know, wouldn't it be funny if for April Fool's Day I came on your channel and I talked about the Henningverse? And I said, yes, we're doing that. Like, there was no pause or hesitation. I was like, that's the funniest idea anyone has ever pitched to me. I absolutely want us to do that. So then it became a thing where I basically said, well, you know what, start writing it out, and then I'll probably go in real quick and do some rewrites, and we can film it real quick and put it out. So basically the answer to that question is that it was Dad's idea, and he very much talked me into it. And I remember one of the first things I did while he was working on the script was I made a design for the set. And I still have this photoshopped image sitting around, and it's the exact set you see in the video, except it's all like pictures of toys and like even just like outlines of things I had in my head. I think designing the set is sometimes the most fun part, so I just really enjoyed trying to come up with a dad version of my set. And then when I was designing that, I had this idea, what if I also design a new version of my set that is parallel to Dad's new set? So I purposefully tried to pick things that can be represented in new and old. So I have a big Inspector Gadget toy, you have a big Inspector Gadget toy. We both have Mr. Potato Heads, we both have different era Hamburglar toys. And the Hamburglar toy on my set was extremely hard to track down. That was like a Japanese exclusive that's very rare. That was very fun for me to work on when we were just getting started. And I remember we'd always say, like, you know, this is April Fool's of next year, you know. But I think I looked it up, and I will say I know that we started filming the video in December 2021. Because I looked up the pictures, and I know for a fact that it said December 2021. So that's how long we were filming it. I guess you could say we were filming it from December 2021 to April 2025. 2025, that's right. Didn't you record something April 1st?
Yes, on April 1st, because
yeah, because I had found a Bumpkin Billionaires comic that I hadn't found.
The hair episode of Bumpkin Billionaires.
Yeah, it was the episode where they make the hair tonic, and I was like, oh, we gotta mention this because it's the final comic. And it's so clearly an episode of Beverly Hillbillies.
And it was the worst time possible to record audio.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't informed.
And I got yelled at over it.
I was not informed. I guess we can say it, but not be specific. Somebody in our family had surgery that day, but they decided not to tell me. So I sent Dad an email saying, hey, can you record this line of audio? So while they're getting ready to go to the hospital, Dad just records a minute of audio.
I drug the audio equipment into my den and just recorded this. I said, I'm gonna do this once. I can't do it 3 times.
Yeah, I want to talk about. I think one of the funnier memories of this project was when you actually sent me what you wrote.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, can you send me what you wrote so I can go over, you know, for like a week, and then we can try and film it all. And so Dad sent me what he wrote, and I opened it, and I was like, this can't be right. And I was like, Dad, did you like copy and paste your script 12 times? And you were like, no, there's a lot of episodes. That's how much I wrote. This is a consistent truth for my videos. Every minute of script written out the way I write out my scripts is 2.33333 minutes repeating.
Repeating, of course.
And so I said to Dad, if you record scripts at that rate, this is 45 hours of script. I was horrified, but you were like, oh, wow, that's cool. And I was like, I have to get people to make 45 hours of videos or whatever it was. And he wasn't even done with I don't even know if you were done with a quarter of the show. And so what I did after that was that I did go in and I started rewriting huge chunks of the early Beverly Hillbillies reviews. Some of the jokes I added in the Weezer joke.
Yeah.
Which I think is a solid joke.
That's where you ought to be, or want to be if you're a Weezer fan.
It's just so funny because as of this January, I've been doing this for 10 years. And Dad's a great writer, and he's a real funny guy, but there was a learning curve writing that much material, but not necessarily knowing the format and all the necessities. And I remember one of the first conversations we had in terms of your script versus what I ideally want is you would always say stuff like, and next we see Granny and Jed. Of course you know who they are, so I don't have to introduce them. And then I was like, no, you do. And I think the problem is, and I had this problem when I was first writing, I think you see this in a lot of my early videos, when you're writing videos that are kind of like free thought, just your thoughts coming to page. There's a better term for that, but I can never remember it. That's just it's just your thoughts, everything in your head landing on the page and then becoming a video. You have this assumption that anyone who's going to watch that is also in your head. So anyone who's going to watch that knows all the things you know, and they know all the inside jokes you know, and they have the same sense of humor and all this stuff. And what I've learned over the years is that it's actually your job to get the audience in your head over, whether it be a 20-minute video or an 8-hour video. You kind of have to introduce them to the madness in the method. And so that was one of the first things where I was like, you need to, none of my audience is going to know what this stuff is. You got to kind of go through it. And you got really good at that really quickly, I feel like. And I thought you got really good at specifically trivia about all the actors. I thought just being like, well, this actor played this character on this show. It's like, that's exactly what you need to do, Now here's the other funny thing about Dad's videos. Dad did have a number of quirks in his scripts. And I feel like I'm monopolizing the conversation, but I'm just trying to get through my checklist. You had a number of quirks in your scripts that were not bad, but were not me. And I meditated on a lot of them. I studied it for a while, and I eventually realized, because this video was going to take so long to make, and I was going to have just hours and hours and even days potentially of this video done before it saw a mainstream release, that I could pick up on some of your quirks in your videos and then premeditate them into my own videos that I was making in between when we started filming your video and when we finished your video. So I wrote down some of these.
Inflation.
Yeah, okay, so this isn't one of these quirks, but this is a thing you do that I think is funny. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. Reading the name of every episode. So him saying, next up, let's talk about Season 1, Episode 3, and then say the name of the episode. And then that's a sentence. That is not, if you look at the old iCarly episodes, I did not necessarily say the title in every review. I rewatched some of the Victorious clips, and I don't go out of the way to tell you the next title. Sometimes I just say, well, let's get on to the next episode, And I just realized, it's charming, and if I start doing it, then the audience will be used to it by the time we get to there. The inflation calculator was one gag where I was like, I should introduce this in Sam and Cat, so people think Dad is referencing my content, when in fact I was referencing him. Doing shorter sentences towards the start of the episode, that was a thing where it was like, this is season blank, episode title. And so-and-so is in the kitchen doing this and that. And it was a very short sentence setting up context. And that's not necessarily how I would write, but after you started doing it, I started writing that way just because I thought the audience would get used to it more quicker if I had also started doing it. And then, of course, I already mentioned the set. And it was almost my way of like indoctrinating my audience into wanting your video. And we even wrote a whole cameo for you in the Sam and Cat video, where the entire intention was, I want to introduce my dad as a character, so my audience is like begging me to let my dad do a video, and that worked. So without having intel that we were already working on this video, a lot of people started leaving comments like, when is your dad going to do a video? Give your dad his own channel. Let your dad talk about the Henningverse and all that. And I was so proud that I had managed to brainwash my audience into wanting this thing I was already doing. Do you have any memories of like learning to write and trying to get your voice down and learning like, oh, I shouldn't write it this way, I should write it this way?
Like you, I'd like to go, but I could see going back and re-recording some earlier stuff, because for some reason, and I'll talk about a possibility for this later, I would like not read the whole sentence, I would read part of a sentence. When we make these things, we don't just read the script. We read the script, but then we say it 3 times in the hopes that by the 3rd time we say it, we got it down. Mm-hmm. But you might have to use the second take. And I would read half a sentence, and then I'd read the other half of and then you hear it in the blooper sometimes, like, why did I think I could get through this whole thing?
Yeah. And then once you start recording yourself, that also influences how you write, I find.
Yeah.
Actually, when we started working on the video, even though I did tweak things, and I tried to push, the first hour of the video is the most important. So I was like, this first hour, we just got to get it perfect. But I remember, I don't know if I said this to you, but I had this feeling that it was actually going to be very charming to see you evolve as a video presenter over the course of this series. Because basically, I was like, you're going to be a little more rusty at hour 2 than you are at hour 37, I think that definitely showed through. Do you know it was one of the funniest things you did early on that still cracks me up? You found your Quentin reviews talking about the episode voice. And next up, we're going to talk about this scene. Here's what happens in this scene. But you didn't have the intuition for when to use a different tone. Oh. So I remember I wrote in this segment where I described the Kennedy assassination, because I was like, this will be a nice dramatic moment. It'll get the audience.
Next is the Kennedy assassination.
And you recorded the whole segment like, John F. Kennedy was writing down death. He's just like the whole thing. You described it like an episode of the Beverly Hillbillies. This was called the Magic Bullet. It's just so funny.
Now, before we move on here, we need to stop and take a look into a very somber moment in the history of 1960s culture, which had a major impact on both of these shows. In late November 1963, President of the United States John F. Kennedy traveled to Texas to do a political tour, attempting to mend feuds in the area while formally beginning his campaign for his 1964 re-election. Many citizens hoped to see the president, and the route his car would take was widely publicized. On the morning of the 22nd, the president's limousine turned into Dealey Plaza, where a crowd gathered to watch him. First Lady of Texas Nellie Connolly, who was in the vehicle, told Kennedy, "Mr. President, you can't say Dallas doesn't love you." Kennedy responded, "No, you certainly can't." These would be his final words as gunshots broke through the cheers of the crowd. Details past this are contentious even today, but one thing was clear: the President of the United States was dead, and America was in total shock.
I wrote a good amount of stuff for this video. I ghost wrote for you. And it was just always funny to me when I would underestimate what words you know.
What was it? Opry?
Yeah, I think you screwed up Opry, but that's more of like, when you record for like an hour, it's kind of like if you're writing for an hour. If you write for an hour, go take a break and then read what you wrote, you'll be like, I know how to spell these words. Recording audio is like that. You'll go, that's not how you say that word.
Well, part of the problem is, sometimes you start deliberately mispronouncing things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you mispronounce it for so long, you forget how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Yeah, because didn't you have an old inside joke where you'd call it the Grand Old Oprah or something?
Yeah, I think that was the joke.
So and then you recorded that segment, and then you said it as Grand Old Oprah, and Connor, who wrote that segment, was like, "Why did you say it like that?"
Yeah.
There's 2 or 3 that were really funny, and I think I kept all of them. Oh, I wrote a joke that was like, "Have you ever heard of the ship of Theseus?" And you recorded it as, "Have you ever heard of the ship of Theseus?"
If every museum in the world is given one plank from the ship of Theseus, who really owns the mighty vessel?
And then the other one that is so funny that I want to use this as a clip throughout as many of the videos as I can. There's something misogynistic in the Bumpkin Billionaires comics, and I wrote in the line, "Ha-ha, misogyny." And you recorded it as, "Ha-ha, misogamy."
Women drivers. Marvellous.
Haha, misogamy.
How much did Quentin/Russ write?
As a general rule of thumb, this is what I tell people. If it's funny, Quentin wrote it.
I don't know that's true.
That's what I tell people.
For the most part, after episode 3 of the Beverly Hillbillies, Dad wrote everything, and I might have gone in later, right before he recorded, and done a rewrite. I know I did that for early Petticoat Junction, and for the most part, we kept that consistent, that Dad mostly wrote the episodes, and then he would record it, and then I would watch the edit, and if there's something I didn't like, or if I thought of a new joke, I'd say, "Hey, can you record this line?" I remember I wrote the joke about the guy in Petticoat Junction being a furry. And actually, this is an interesting thing to bring up. There's so many creative choices we had to make in this video, because it's currently 42 hours long.
Yeah.
I remember when Dad originally wrote the video, so this was inspired by the fact that he went and tried to watch the entire Henningverse in order. Because of this, he was originally going to do the first season of Petticoat Junction with the second season of Beverly Hillbillies, like the way he does it in the color video, where it's like, here's an episode of Beverly Hillbillies, here's an episode of Petticoat Junction. And I said to Dad, and this might be a controversial decision, but I was like, we don't think we can do it this way. I think the audience needs to be properly engrossed in Petticoat Junction by itself before we start mixing them. Because I was just worried that it was going to feel like potatoes and peas. I wanted the audience to understand Petticoat Junction as its own standalone thing. And now that's the part of the video everyone complains about because they missed the Beverly Hillbillies. But I still think it was the right choice to be like, let's just make this part about the Petticoat Junction, and then we'll start mixing them together. And I think there's a point in time where it's a little awkward starting out there, but I think I was watching the Start of the Green Acres video, and I was like, this works. I recently was editing bits of the first hour of the Green Acres video, and I was like, this honestly, it really works. It's real. There's some magic there. So we had a lot of little creative decisions like that. Generally, I wrote most of the intermissions. I wrote a lot of the intermissions, probably most of them. And the sad irony is, in my opinion, the intermissions I wrote for your video are some of the best. It's some of the best stuff I've ever written. I believe the train intermission is fantastic. I'm very proud of the Defunct Land parody. And the irony is that it's like nested into this bigger thing. So I rarely get people commenting about like the theme park intermission, because people, it's literally like 35 hours into the video or something. And there's just this great irony to being like, not only am I proud of this, I almost see this as a representation of where I'm taking my writing style, but my audience doesn't necessarily connect that style with me, not only because you read it, but because it's like hidden in this bigger, let's say, masterpiece together. And I don't know, I just always think that's funny to think about, but I certainly I don't think there was any point where I forced you to do stuff you didn't want to do. I think you were pretty trusting that I had good intuition on how to make a Quentin Reviews video.
Mm-hmm. Boy, it caused me a lot of problems splitting, because I wrote Petticoat Junction Season 1 to go with the Beverly Hillbillies, so I had to separate everything. And I remember I'd be recording. was it the Widow Fenwick?
Yeah.
She's on Petticoat Junction. So when she looks like the Widow Fenwick, and I think I even recorded it, and I was thinking, wait a minute.
Yeah, the audience doesn't know who that is. And so there's a
go re-record this.
So if you watch those seasons, there's a ton of like. Here's a funny thing: in the episode of Beverly Hillbillies that aired after this, they're doing the dance from this episode. Originally, that comment was in the Beverly Hillbillies episode because they were shown back to back.
Yeah.
But like I said, I thought it was rushing too quickly into that gimmick. But maybe I was wrong. I don't know.
It'll be on the new edit. They'll be in order. Speaking of intermissions, people ask me, so you really don't like Star Trek? And I'm like, oh, I'd watch it. But since we did the model, when I see the original series, like on MeTV Saturday nights, it just really pisses me off. I mean, it does. It really pisses me off because it's that CGI Enterprise.
Oh yeah. That
makes me mad.
It looks terrible.
Yeah, it does.
I'm really proud of the joke I wrote where I said, you keep expecting menu options to pop up on your screen.
Why don't you go scan the original model and then...
Well, they did. The problem is, because there was so much special effects, it was like multiple layers of film. So they just thought, oh, it's too obvious that it's like, on set it's one layer of 16 millimeter or whatever, but then the model shots, it's like 3 layers of 16 millimeter for the spaceship, and then underneath is the space, and it's a different number of like artifacting. And so they just thought that was too distracting. I think it's less distracting than showing a bunch of special effects that clearly look like it was done in like 2008. Because that's the funny thing about that era of special editions, is that special editions were a trend exactly when CGI wasn't good enough to make it worth it. Because I honestly think if they made like a special edition of like the prequels with better special effects, it would be worth it. But that's not currently a trend anymore. Of course, CGI is getting worse again because they're not unionized.
Yeah.
But like the Doctor Who special editions on the Blu-rays, those look great, and the original episodes are still easily accessible. Whereas to get the proper original versions of the Star Trek episodes, you really have to get like the weirdest collections on Blu-ray. So we worked on the video for a few years, it felt like, and it got to the point that I would always have like 3 or 4 editors at least just working on the video in the background. Yeah. And then we'd speed up getting close to April, and I would be putting a ton of energy and money into working on the video. And then we'd always get to March, and I'd be like, we're not going to finish this. And then we'd put it off a year.
Yeah.
And so I think 2023, we were really, really close. But there was enough not done, and I hadn't finished the iCarly miniseries. And I said, we should make it perfect, and people are going to appreciate it a lot more if I finish the iCarly miniseries. And so that's actually a funny story. I dropped a ton of videos really quickly in a row. I dropped the Dan Schneider video, then a few days later I dropped the Timmy Turner video, and then I was meant to drop the Nicktoons Unite video like a day after that, but I didn't. It wasn't done. And then I dropped your video. The only reason all that dropped in a row is because I had always planned that your video would be great after the Dan Schneider video. I had already written and filmed into the Nicktoons Unite video that I would disappear at the end of that video. And the Timmy Turner video was the perfect like reboot of finishing iCarly and literally going, hey, it's 2016 again, of literally getting back to the roots of my creativity. And it led directly from the final shot of Dan Schneider video is the first shot of the Timmy Turner video. And to make all that work, I just had to like drop all these videos right after each other. And then naturally what ended up happening was that we decided to delay the Nicktoons Unite video. And Dad recorded a little intro segment talking about the fact that I'm missing or whatever. And I remember when I was editing Nicktoons Unite, I said to myself, man, I would do anything to have this be out before the Beverly Hillbillies video.
And you learn to be careful what you wish for.
The monkey's paw curled.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a funny thing people don't think about. And no one pointed this out, and it was kind of upset me because it was such a hard detail to work on. Even though the Nicktoons Unite video came out months after the original edit of your video, all the pinboard shots are there in Dad's video. So if you look in Dad's video, you can see the pinboard shots from the Nicktoons Unite video. So I had pinboard shots in that Infinity sequence from a video that hadn't come out yet. No one pointed this out, which was a shame to me. That's one of the things where you make a 38-hour video and people aren't going to notice every detail. And so you might be thinking, okay, so had you filmed the entirety of the Nicktoons Unite video? No. What happened was I wrote every pinboard segment. I didn't write every pinboard segment for the video. That's actually wrong. I planned out every pinboard segment for the video. And then I wrote the opening scene of each pinboard shot. And then I frantically recorded just the opening shot for all the Nicktoons Unite pinboards of me going, hey, we're at the pinboards, last time, blah, 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 blah. And I stayed up all night, March the 31st, 2024, recording these, exporting stuff. I could be like, because I had cut the Beverly Hillbillies video into chunks, right? So I was able to say, okay, the last 10 hours of the Beverly Hillbillies video are done. I'm going to export that, and then I'm going to film Nicktoons Unite stuff. So then I can go back and film, make the pinboard shots, and then put the pinboard shots in the first pinboard shot of Dad's video, and then I can export the video up to like 5 hours. It was a lot of complexities like that of just graphing out all the parts I could export and how long it would take and what else I could film. So that was an insane process. And like I said, I stayed up for like 40 hours just trying to make sure that detail worked, that you could actually see me in the infinity effect of Dad's video. I think parts of the Nicktoons Unite video were harmed because of that, because sometimes I'd be filming a pinboard segment, I'd be like, I don't know if I'm feeling this one, but I have to do it. Because I'd go back over the next like 3 or 4 weeks and film the rest of those. But yeah, it was just a crazy process for me, trying to just get the channel in a place where I felt like it was ready for that video to drop vaguely in the first week of April. And I wish I could have spaced those out, because a lot of those videos didn't do well because I put out too many at once. Whereas I feel like if I had dropped like the Dan Schneider video in January, Timmy Turner video in February, and then Nicktoons Unite in March, and then Dad's video in April, I think it would have done really well. But because I put out like 55 hours of content in 1 week, yeah. Some of it didn't do well. But I mean, that's the risk you take. But it was just very dedicated to this bit. Oh, I guess we should talk about the storyline, my storyline in your video. The first time Dad pitched me this idea that he would take over the channel, he had mentioned to me, this is what Dad's pitch, he said, I want to do this joke where I say, I don't know where my son is. And then we show you our house back home in the downstairs bathroom. I don't know if you ever fixed this, but the doorknob...
Getting closer to fixing it, if that means anything.
The doorknob in the downstairs bathroom, if you grab it and pull it, the doorknob comes off. So Dad's whole idea was he was going to say, my son's missing, I don't know where he is. And then you'd see me in that bathroom, I'd reach down, I'd pull the doorknob off, and I'd go, uh-oh. And I thought of a myriad of reasons why I thought that wasn't right for what we were going for.
That's, you will learn that's from Green Acres. The knobs are always coming off the doors on Green Acres.
Gotcha.
The front door anyway.
And then my second idea was that you were going to say, my son's missing, he's gone missing, I don't know where he is. And then you were going to see a closet, and I was going to yell, you locked me in a closet! And then just throughout the review, sometimes I'd just yell stuff out. But then we decided that like me being missing would actually be funny. And I plot out this idea where it's like, what if I'm just in a bunch of weird liminal places that feel like they shouldn't exist, but somehow I filmed it.
You filmed at the last Kmart before it closed.
Well, technically there's...
Well, I know there's some in Australia.
Well, there's one like... It's basically like a pharmacy in Florida.
Yeah.
And it's called Kmart still.
But it's just a pharmacy?
It's just a pharmacy, so...
A Kmart pharmacy?
So it's this really tiny thing that it says Kmart. But technically that's the last Kmart in America.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like there might be one in Canada, but I feel like there isn't anymore. And then I decided... I wish I'd stuck to this. I had this idea where the gap between your first video and the Green Acres video, I was not going to post anything online in terms of social media.
Yeah.
And so I was going to quit Twitter, and the only things I would tweet was I had this idea where I would tweet out references to if I would time it exactly to the video if you started watching the video at the exact moment, and it was like, so like if in 3 hours of the video I'm at a Radio Shack, I'd post like a photo of me at that Radio Shack, and I'd go, where am I, I ended up not sticking with that. And the main reason is, this is a thing, we did not intend for there to be any significant gap between Dad's first video and his second. And in fact, originally, it was all going to be one video, and we were just going to see how much we could get done. And the reason we split it is that I was doing all my tests on the second channel, and here's the weird thing. People always ask me, what is the YouTube upload limit? Like, what is the YouTube upload limit? Because it's supposedly 12 hours.
Yeah.
Here's what I can tell you. I think 250 gigabytes, the file size, that is actually the file size limit from my tests. The YouTube upload limit, if you're uploading a video and you turn monetization on, and you go through the entire form that they make you do, it will not check for the upload limit unless you get a copyright claim.
Then forget it.
If that happens, it's just going to fail. And so I realized while doing checks on the second channel that that as soon as I put one episode of Green Acres in, the upload would consistently fail. And so I was like, well, if we have to split it, we should split it at the end of Black and White era, which is where, right before we start getting these problems. Now, I don't want to kick the hornet's nest here, but I don't have those problems necessarily on the main channel, and I think it's because maybe you have to do a manual claim. I don't know, but I've been able to upload really long versions of the Green Acres video, and so that's why the Beverly Hillbillies video was that long. But originally it was supposed to be one video. It was just supposed to be like, And when we uploaded the first video, we had 10 hours done of the second video.
Yeah.
And that's why we were like, okay, the plan was April Fool's Part 1 comes out, Father's Day Part 2 comes out.
That's in June, by the way. For us.
And I said, well, if we're going to do a second video, we should split it at the start of the color era, because then I can brand the first one on the Beverly Hillbillies and the second one's on Green Acres, because otherwise it'll be like, reviewing the Green Acres Season 2. So we did it that way, and we split it up. And then we kept working on the 10, extending the, it was actually 15 hours. I had 15 hours done of the color video when I uploaded your first video. And then, of course, everything changed. But yeah, that was just an interesting thing of planning out that storyline so that it would go through it. Where the idea being that I'm missing throughout the entirety of Dad's 2 videos. And then when I had to delay your second video, I was like, well, I'm going to stand my ground and I'm going to keep this storyline going as best as I can. And some of that extended into the YouTube shorts. If you watch them, sometimes the YouTube shorts are canon and they show me being lost doing something. So it's like, there's a video where I go to Olive Garden. There's a video, the Garfield convention videos were specifically filmed so that I'm in the outfit that I was wearing when I went missing. And then the funny thing, we were just talking about this, Linkara asked me to cameo in his 800th episode. And he just put it out. And I said to Lewis, I will film you a cameo, but I have to do it in character and it has to fit into my storyline. And, Lewis goes, well, it doesn't have to be that serious. You don't have to put that much work into it. I just need something quick. And I said, no, Lewis, you don't understand. You're one of my childhood icons. I'm not going to do a cameo for your 800th episode and not have it be filled with some kind of weird lore thing. Because Lewis's whole thing is that, I know he took a break from it, but he had lore and canon and canonicity, and so I was like, if we're going to cross over, it's going to be in-universe. So my cameo is actually, I've actually got to pull it up here, we could watch it. So my theory about the schedule slippages is actually that back when Comic-Con 1 crash-landed on the moon so many years ago, it actually caused some kind of temporal rift. And that potentially has been affecting the gravitational stability of the Earth and also how we perceive chronology. Basically, I guess what I'm trying to say is that time keeps on slipping into the future. I apologize for my stammer. Oh, also, I'm really lost, and this is the first time I've had signal in months. Can someone call my mom? Yeah, so that's my little thing, is that I got to loop our storyline into a Linkara video, and I'm really proud of that. So I mean, that's just a funny part of the series, that it felt like my way to insert like some of my personality into it. because I feel like a lot of the cutaways with me are like things that I think are funny more than like necessarily like something Dad would have written out. I do think through the collaboration, like a good amount of both of our personalities and writing styles ended up in the video. Do you know what? Actually, I just remembered. Do you know what's one of my favorite jokes? I've done this sort of joke a few times, but I think this is the best time I ever did it. In Victorious Part 2, I told you guys that we had been working on the videos for a while. The first thing we technically filmed associated with your project, there's an episode of Victorious where Tori's neighbor comes over and his name is Mr.
Drysdale.
His name is Mr. Drysdale, and it's clearly a Beverly Hillbillies reference because Mr. Drysdale is their neighbor. And so I wrote in the script, Quentin turns into his dad and his dad says, "Why does that sound familiar?" And I also recorded that scene as myself because I had originally intended my voice to come out of your mouth.
Why does that sound familiar?
And I remember at the time, every comment was like, why does Quentin look weird here? Like, why does Quentin's haircut change? Like, did he film this a different day? Like, no one could figure out that it wasn't me, that it was you just appearing on the set dressed as me. And then I get so many comments from people saying, oh my God, you were setting this up for years. Now, because I had the footage of me in the same outfit saying, why does that sound familiar? We held on to that clip for a while. And your idea was, there's an episode later on in the series where they remake one of the older episodes. And your idea was, when the sort of deja vu starts to kick in, it would cut to me saying, why does that sound familiar? Yeah. And I said, no, we should try and do the same joke that I did. So I worked really hard to try and figure out a place where a character with the name of a character from one of my shows shows up. And it just wasn't happening until I found out that Granny calls people Goomers. And then I went, oh, Goomer's a character from my shows. So I found a clip where she says, who's this Goomer? And I said, okay, so you'll say, wait a minute, Goomer? And then it'll cut to me. And that's my favorite setup and payoff I've ever done. Yeah. Where it was literally years in between the first time you see that joke and the second time you see that joke. And it's so beautiful. Now, the funny repercussion of that is there's a clip earlier in the review where she also says Goomer, and I didn't want to spoil the joke. So I just bleeped it like she said a slur or something. Yeah. So if in the video when you watch Granny like what are you doing you? And then there's a bleep sound, it's because she said Goomer, and I didn't think the joke worked for that scene. So that's just one of those funny things. But I really loved being able to set up all these little tiny things. All right, we took a few days off. We were getting tired, so we took a few days off. So I guess something I can ask you is, were there any aspects of making a video like this that you didn't anticipate when you first had the idea?
I'm sure there are. They just can't come to me right now. They're just not coming to me right now.
Ah, gotcha.
I mean, just how many hours of recording it would be, maybe.
Yeah.
Didn't really foresee that.
I guess I didn't explicitly spell that out, but I did tell you how long the video would probably be. I didn't tell you that,
that's multiplied.
Maybe 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, at least.
Especially if you have to re-record a bunch of episodes.
Yeah.
So I guess we can go ahead and talk about the accident, if you would like to, Dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
We recorded all the video on-camera stuff for season 1 of the Beverly Hillbillies. And then I was in a really bad car accident. You may remember some of the Quentin's earlier videos featured an orange Volkswagen. Well, that got totaled, and so did I. I wasn't at fault. I don't remember the accident, which both bugs me and is a relief. Basically, I want you to understand something. Never be in a hurry, even if you are. Because I was trying to go home from work, and it took me 6 weeks. I've had countless surgeries. If there is a plus side from the accident, it was Quentin realized that I was going to be laying in bed for a long time, so he rigged up a contraption for me just to record audio, because what else am I going to do?
Yeah, well, I wanted you to have something to do.
Yeah, no, I had something to do, yeah.
Because I just knew it was I think it was like 3 months you were just bedridden? Or something like that, maybe 4.
I didn't walk for 13 months. But yeah, I was in bed for a while.
And so I built this mic stand. I had a mic arm, and I attached it to a board, and then I put the board in a cardboard box, and I filled one side of the cardboard box up with VHS tapes, so that the opposite side of the box was weighed down with VHS tapes, so then the mic could hang down, because otherwise the box would just flip over. And so Dad could put this box next to him in bed, and then, start recording audio. And we had bought him a laptop right after the accident. Now, the only problem with that laptop is that for some reason it doesn't like Go XLR, so it's always giving us trouble with that. So there's all kinds of weird peaks and stuff, and we can never figure out why it does that. But we recorded, I think easily hundreds of hours of audio with that setup. And then when I would give them to my editors, I would just say, all the shots on set that were missing, because they were impossible to film at the time, I was like, just put in a screen grab of what it says in the script. That was just an oddity, I guess. And I remember I was in such a place of shock that I hadn't really had time to proofread the scripts that Dad was recording. Or it's not that I didn't have time, it's that I couldn't bring myself to work for a bit there. And so Dad was recording episodes that I hadn't proofread at all. And so what I did for a while, for the first couple days that we were doing this, is that I would sit outside the room and I would listen, and every once in a while I would come and knock on the door and give notes. And I'd be like, Dad, what are you talking about? You go, I'm talking about this woman this character. And I was like, you didn't introduce this character. And then you would tell me who the character is, and I was like, can you just say that? But that was the funniest part of production, I think. And then pulling together an editing team that were willing and excited to work on this top secret project for several years was really fun. And I think I found my favorite collaborators through that process. Because I'd say all my top editors right now are people who started on the Hillbilly Project, even though it's a very different kind of project. Fun fact, Dad's video is 30 frames per second, even though my videos are 60, and that's just because I assumed it would help save on file size. When you export, the video has to be under 250 gigabytes, so I have to compress the video to hell. So it's just one of those funny things where I'm just trying to do anything I can to save on file size outside of that. And I think if I had known how long the video was, I could have compressed it less, but I was kind of like prepping for the worst. So I don't know, it's with a YouTube video, it's hard to see how much quality you're losing with video compression. But that was very difficult. But I think I really reinforced that it was like very much a labor of love. And I think a lot of my anxieties about the video being too long kind of started to evaporate when it became this kind of healing process to work on the video through the worst of it all. And I remember I'd watch the video and I'd be really, really happy and proud of it. Of course, the hard part is if I noticed something wasn't right and I was like, oh, Dad needs to adjust how he's writing these episodes, Dad would be like 60 episodes ahead of whatever episode I had just watched.
At least.
So it was hard to adjust course at times. Whereas earlier in the process, we were going really, 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 really slow because I just wanted you to get it right. I want to say in a non-patronizing way. This is a fun fact. In the Petticoat Junction season 1, Dad says, "So you can understand this show, I'm going to be showing a lot of clips, so it's going to be more of a watch along." And I'm shocked this worked. I wrote that in because there were too many clips.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't put all those clips in to enhance the video. Dad put too many clips in, and then I went, we gotta. Most of these are public domain, but we gotta lampshade this.
Yeah.
But things are a lot better now.
I tried to scale that way back.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just in general.
Oh yeah, I know.
I mean, is that all you have to say about that?
Well, you know what the funniest thing you did when all those months of recording, you'd set me up, and then all of a sudden you'd go, "Oh yeah, and Queen Elizabeth just died. The second, just have fun recording," and I'm like, "What?"
Oh yeah. So that was
pulling my leg.
That was
if Queen Elizabeth II died, it'd be on the TV because I've got. And I turned it on. I went, "Wow, Queen Elizabeth II." Now, if you go back, it's in the audio. Not on the
in the raw audio.
The raw
like it had just hit the news, and I was like, oh, I should help Dad set up and then tell him that she died at the exact moment because we always joked about that.
Okay.
So I am starting my 1 hour timer, and we are recording.
Yeah, okay. Can you just say what this is? This is episode
Yeah, that's what
1.
I'm getting ready to do.
Okay, the Queen of England just died, so...
Are you serious?
Yeah, right before we start recording, the Queen of England is dead now. Good luck with recording. I'm going to be downstairs.
I mean, are you serious?
Yeah, the Queen of England died.
Okay.
Have a good time recording.
Yeah. Now, how can he start me recording and tell me that shit? I'm not prepared for this.
And then I remember, I feel like 1 or 2 episodes later, you mentioned Prince Philip or something, and it was like you mentioned Queen Elizabeth in the present tense, so in the moment you had to like pivot that day and change how you recorded that line. But yeah, that's one of the funnier moments we had.
I remember I had to rewrite stuff to say like, because the hillbillies go to England several times. England had a queen when this episode aired. And when I first started writing this.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the accident is, in like a very quiet way, like a defining aspect of the video, even though obviously it doesn't come up in the video. One of the subtle Easter eggs you can piece together if you watch the season 1 clips, if you want to tell stuff we filmed before and after the accident, is all the stuff we filmed before the accident, there's a little model of Dad's car. And all the stuff we filmed after the accident, we took the model car away. So that was our little Easter egg.
A lot of the pinboard shots, I'm like balancing on one leg because I'm non-weight bearing on one leg for 13 months.
Yeah.
Also, every place Quentin has lived, his studio's been on the 2nd floor. And so I got very skilled at going upstairs using my arms and one leg.
Yeah.
And people like, I'll go to doctors. I'm like, well, how do you get upstairs? I'm like, well, it's like a walker. You just use the handrails.
Yeah.
And if I had to, I can just go up. I can sit down and go up that way.
Yeah. I remember one of the first things I told you when you were writing is you were like, I thought we could do a pinboard thing here. And I said, Dad, I just need you to understand pinboard segments are about 15 times as annoying and difficult to film as you think they are. Because just like, even just the energy of like standing in front of the pinboard and having to motion to stuff and having to like crouch down, oh, put this pin to it, but all this stuff is just like, I feel like when I film a pinboard shot, sometimes it's like, all right, I'm going to go take 4 hours off now.
Yeah.
So transitioning from one touchy topic to another, I guess we should talk about the video being taken down.
Yeah.
So a couple of days after I put the video up, I got copyright takedown for one of the episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies. And it was one of the public domain episodes, so I filed a dispute under public domain or royalty free or whatever it is on there. And it kept happening. And then eventually they hit me with an episode that wasn't public domain. And so I disputed under fair use. Then I went to the appeal stage, and then they decided to send me a very strongly worded email, which is just, it's the first time that ever happened to me where like a proper big company sent me like a very strongly worded email. I believe it was Paramount, where they were basically like, you are violating copyright and all this stuff. And it was a very scary thing where I was like, yeah, well, I'm going to have to take the video down, I guess, because they didn't say they were taking me to court, but they were trying very hard to word it to sound like that they would take me to court. So I decided, well, I got to take the video down, I guess. And I shouldn't have done this, but as soon as I got the email, I called Dad, even though he had work the next day. And I just remember being really scared and freaked out and stressed out and awful hurt by it. I remember Dad going, oh, okay, well, what do we got to do to fix it? And I go, yeah. Well, we got to rewrite like every Beverly Hillbillies review. Okay. Oh, okay.
I get right on that.
Yeah.
First thing in the morning.
So
probably what I said.
Yeah, it's probably, that sounds about right. So we ended up deciding we were going to re-edit it, even though it had been a very expensive video to make, and we hadn't made a lot of money on it because I kept getting copyright claims. Now I was like, I'm going to invest more into it. And the audience was very supportive at the time. A lot of people joined the Patreon for a few months. If you still feel strongly about that, I would appreciate any other kind of support right now. I know the economy's worse. That's why it matters. But yeah, so then we started reworking it, and I brought in a series of editors, and I said, hey, we got to try and rework stuff. And basically, the big issue was that Dad would play clips just because he thought they were funny. And sometimes I do that just because I'm like, this will be a good meme just to cut to this for a second. But it was one of those things that was hard to be like, hey, the last so-and-so episodes you've been showing slightly too many clips.
Yeah.
And I remember in the email they said something like, it is not fair use to describe every funny thing that Granny says in an episode. So basically our mission statement was to go in and to rewrite every episode of the Beverly Hillbillies to be a few pages shorter, try and focus more on like pop culture facts, analysis.
Hey, that looks like so-and-so that appeared in that episode.
Yeah, riffing, inflation.
Yeah, especially inflation.
And then to also go into all the petty conjunctions and rewrite certain bits to cut out clips and to add in. I remember I had this conversation with Dad where we were just talking about like, it's just funny. And I don't want you to feel bad about this, but it was funny because I know it was me and then it was Mom and we were talking, and I was like, well, you see, the thing is, you got to try and find something to say about, like, was this a good episode? What did the episode have to say? What do you have to say about the episode? And Dad somehow took that to mean that he should explain the moral of every episode, which is not what I said. And so that's why in the re-edit, every episode...
Well, I guess we learned that
what we learned...
possum can be kind of salty, so you shouldn't add more salt to it.
And sometimes I would listen to the new add-ons and I'd be like, I'm not going to keep that in. But...
Yeah, I would go record things and after that and go, oh, I know this is crap. This won't make the edit.
But then I think as soon as we knew that we were cutting out hours and hours of content, just trying to make it more concise, we also said, well, let's go in and record new stuff. And so there are a handful of places where I said, I kind of regret that we didn't do this here and this here. One of the first things we did was we started filming new pinboard segments. And there's an episode where a character, every scene, he gets a new name. And I said, well, Dad, instead of actually
Fred a mission.
Yeah, instead of explaining the joke every time he gets a new name, let's do an intermission where you're ranking all of the names on a tier list and then you combine them into one long name.
Mr. Certified Public Accountant Fred Rodpin Rodfern Frank Fredpin Rodpin Pinrod Freddy Rodfern Simply Fernpod Pinfred Redpin Fernped Jake Apprehensive Fredrod Rodgroom Period Fernpile Munyana.
And then the big long name fell behind the pinboard. That's a fun fact. So that was there the rest of the time I filmed. And the other thing was that we added a little extra thing to the radio intermission at the end. And we decided to extend the what I call the intermission polar vortex. So it was just this funny thing where not only did we get to extend the video, but we also got to come up with an in-universe reason why the video had been rejuvenated like this. And I thoroughly enjoyed that part of the process. The only problem is that because we did that, I have far fewer ideas for intermissions now because we shoved all of our really good ideas into the first video re-edit.
Incidentally, recording the Evil Dad radio bits scared the hell out of my cat. And I don't think your mother or your sister were happy about it either.
Oh, they, yeah, there's a funny thing. Mom says that they weren't happy because it was annoying.
Yeah.
Gwen says she wasn't happy because it was so funny that she was struggling not to laugh at it. So different perspectives there. But yeah, it was an interesting thing, and I don't remember how long it took. But the difficult thing that is a little more subtle is that when we finished the original video the year before, we had about 14 or 15 hours done of the Green Acres video. So not only did we have to rework, 38 plus hours of content that the audience knows about, but we also have had to rework 15 hours and a little bit more of content that had never seen the light of day, and trying to find a balance between now we can't even be as meta about the fact that we're readjusting things and is this working, is that working, that kind of thing. So that's been difficult. So if people have wondered why it's been more than a year between the first video and the second video, it's just that reworking the first video and reworking what we had done in the second video took so long that it just ended up being a year to get all those bits of the process done, and then to also kind of fight off the exhaustion of it. Now, one thing I will say is that after we posted the re-upload, I didn't hear a thing. I will mention that I made the controversial decision to make the non-public domain episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies mostly still images. My inspiration for that was I was thinking, well, there's this podcast called Office Ladies, and on Office Ladies, they play clips from the show all the time. And a lot of Office Ladies is just them describing the episode and retelling the funny jokes. So I was like, well, clearly that's okay. What we did in the first video clearly is past the line. So somewhere in the middle must be the line. So I was trying to kind of turn those parts of the video that were the most threatening to us into something like Office Ladies. But anyways, when we reposted the video, I didn't hear a single thing. I didn't get a single copyright claim. And to this day, I'm not sure if it's because they were happy with how we had adjusted things, or if it's because the person who was going after us got fired. Not because they were going after us, but because they work at Paramount, and Paramount has been firing everyone they can. So we'll find out.
Firing all the wrong people, too.
Yeah. And I'll also point out that Green Acres is owned by somebody else, so we don't even know what kind of hell that's going to be, but we're all just praying it's not a nightmare. I'm thinking it'll be fine because just the circumstances of being hassled at that level is so beyond... it's the only time I've experienced that in 9 3/4 years that I'd be shocked if it happened again, but I don't know. Maybe syndication, shows in syndication are just different. Do you want to go make some coffee?
I would love some coffee, because anybody who knows me watching this video knows this is the longest amount of time they've ever seen me without drinking coffee, which is why we put drinking coffee in the video, because I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And Quentin came up with the world's 578th worst dad gag. Oh, do we have to stop the camera, though?
No, it's just the mics are on us, so we can just...
Oh, yeah.
We can just keep recording.
So it's been some 3 years after the accident.
Uh-huh.
And I still have trouble with stairs.
Yeah.
But my policy is if the Daleks can conquer stairs, then by God, I can. But I have to go down one step at a time. By the time I get to the first floor, Quentin will have already started the coffee.
So, Dad, the number one question I always get asked is, outside of, like, did I write the video or did you write the video and that kind of thing, is people want to know if you like the video, you know, if you were happy with how it's turned out.
Yes.
All right, well, that's good.
Before we put that video out, because we mentioned that I support your channel and try to keep a video going all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since that video came out, now that's the video that goes all the time.
Nice.
I even like keep notes like 32 maybe. And that means when I get home, YouTube normally will run for 6 hours.
Yeah.
And then it'll ask you if you're still there and continue watching. But sometimes it just keeps playing and the video will go for days.
Yeah. And that's a good video to test that on.
Yeah, yes. And then like, oh, I need to stop this, but it's been going for, it went past 6 years. I hate to stop it.
My coffee was by the sink, so I couldn't find it.
And then of course, the only problem I guess I really have is I'm so busy working on new scripts and trying to record new audio. I haven't actually had time to watch the thing. So I'll have it playing in the background and occasionally I'll go, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I just thought of something to ask you. There's a scene where there's a guy in a hot dog costume with Granny's face over him. Does that mean anything?
There's a scene where there's a guy in a hot dog costume with Granny's face. I bet that's George. George loves doing funny edits. I mean, George is the reason the project has come together so well, I think. He's one of my favorite editors. I think him and JC, I would say, were my top two right now. And he actually was just sending me, he made an opening sequence for Granny Who.
Oh, yeah, he asked me about that, and so I sent him some Doctor Who opens, and I said, I guess just pick any from here to here.
Yeah, you would think he would have used those.
And he didn't. Well, he didn't. He emailed me back. It's like, oh, Granny Who? I can't believe I didn't get that.
Yeah. and I said to him, yeah, I figure that might be inspired by the fact that I don't know if I've even done this to you, but I have this running joke that like Irene Ryan looks a lot like William Hartnell.
That's a good point. She does.
Yeah, like,
I just thought it was funny because Granny's like, Granny Who? Granny You. Like, Granny Who would have ran till 1973.
That's good too. Yeah. Speaking of not being able to watch the video, I have literally more than a day's worth. I have like 26 hours of the Green Acres video that I just haven't had time to proof watch yet. Just working on new stuff for it all the time. It's just like, I think I'm going to try and like find a coffee shop to be a regular at and then just get one decaf and just sit there for 3 hours while I don't know. I got to find a coffee shop that has like scrambled eggs or something. Just keep ordering scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
Man, coffee does take its time. I like the video a lot. I've watched, obviously I watched it all. And Dad has watched most of it just because I asked him to proof watch all the episode reviews. So he at least watched all the episode reviews, probably, or most of them. I don't know if he's seen all the intermissions. But I thoroughly enjoy it, and I still sometimes will put it on for a bit and watch it. I do think it's very different from, like, kind of what I'm kind of trying to push my content towards, which is interesting. I think of it as like a different category, a different like thing, like almost like a side project rather than like, this is what new Quentin reviews is like. More like, well, this is Russ reviews. It's our new side thing. I hope as I start to put new videos out that people will realize that the video is back out again, because I've had a lot of people literally, they'll say, hey, when are you going to get that Beverly Hillbillies video back out? And I'm like, hey, several months ago.
Yeah. It's coming out. Yeah, it's coming out June of this year.
Is that when we put it out? I thought it was like April 5th.
You got all the dad rankings somewhere else?
Yeah, I think they're. I know where they are. They're in. I have a bin upstairs of cups I never unpacked.
So, more stuff about the accident.
Mm-hmm.
I drove a Volkswagen Beetle for 34 years, I think. I think that's the math I came up with.
Yeah.
I had a replacement car before I got home from the hospital. And I let it sit there for it was 3 years after the wreck this year, and I went, I haven't touched that car. It's time I did something. I won't go into it too much, but I didn't like the engine it had in it. It had dual carbs, and all I know about dual carbs is they would have to be tuned exactly the same, or you're going to run lopsided. So I put my engine in because it was the front of the car that got destroyed, not the back.
Oh, yeah.
And you type in pulling a VW engine, and you get countless videos where how to pull a VW engine in 20 minutes. It took me 6 weeks.
Well, I'm the one that
Just mainly because I hurt, and so I worked for a little bit and then quit.
Well, Dad disconnected tubes and stuff, but I was the one that pulled it, and then more importantly, I was the one that had to
Oh, I'm talking about swapping it now.
Oh, putting the car engine back in.
Yeah, the putting the engine that you pulled into the car, because I wasn't in any shape.
Yeah, so I pulled the engine from the wrecked car, and then the worst part was I had to kind of crouch down really as low as I could, and then kind of baby walk it from the backyard in the garage and the uphill in the front yard.
Yeah. And then we even pulled the transmission out because there was a funny story. That transmission I put in it because the other one tore up. And it cost $125, which is remarkable then. I mean, we're talking 10, 12 years ago. And I was like, I'm like, Quentin's grandfather actually sent me the money because I didn't have it. So like that I'll probably never use this, but we're gonna pull it. I mean, of course, there are still things I wish we could have got off the car, but they weren't.
Oh, we got a lot of stuff.
Did
you have you worked on any of the chrome detailing or?
No, I haven't messed with the chrome.
Yeah, because I just know that the car I got you had like all the chrome was popping off.
Oh, I had lots of chrome, so it's just a matter of going, well, this piece of chrome's obviously bent. Of course, the other problem I have is, per agreement from everybody, was I can't drive the Beetle to work anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
because if the forecast was good and it was above 70 degrees, that's what I drove. Well, as you can see, Quentin's on camera probably. I'm still coming up the stairs.
I'm shocked it's still recording.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's
good.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, are we talking about the coffee or the camera?
The camera.
Oh yeah, the camera's good. All right, so I think the number one question we should end off with is a question that almost feels stupid to ask. When we finish the Henningverse saga, which I think there's only like 500 more episodes to review, what other stuff would we want to do with the Russ Reviews gimmick? Because I know throughout the saga you've had a lot of ideas, and I've had some ideas.
I know you want me to do Mr. Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
And I've started to look at that.
I remember Dad felt very strongly for a while about doing the A-Team.
Did I?
Yeah, you were like, oh, I'd love to do an A-Team video. But
I thought about doing the Greatest American Hero.
Greatest American Hero would be a great one. Yeah. I've thought about doing the Greatest American Hero, actually. But it'll make more sense for you to do it. Because I know it was one of your favorite shows.
Yeah, well, it could be maybe a joint progress. Like it could be my look at it and your look at it.
Yeah, that's smart.
Because obviously you look at things different. Because
I thought for one of the Beverly Hillbillies videos in the future, we could do an intermission where it's like Knockoff November and I review all the Crocodile Dundee movies. Because I saw a clip of it online and I was like, this feels like it's inspired by Jed Clampett. But yeah, my idea was, as far as I had thought before this exact moment, I thought the idea you wanted to do the most was the A-Team, because you'd brought it up in the past. And the idea I think I want us to do the most is, I want to do Mr. Rogers, but I want it to specifically be a recap of the lore of just the neighborhood of make-believe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, still discussing the history of Mr. Rogers and still occasionally talking about an important episode of the show. But the main thing is being like, just talking about, you know, what's the status quo of the neighborhood of make-believe in season 1? What's the story arcs they go through? How do things change? Because we went to the Mr. Rogers Museum years ago.
Yeah.
And I just remember you kept pointing at stuff and saying, well, that's a factory. And the neighborhood of make-believe had a factory back in season 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, I would watch a 5-hour video of you just explaining a season-by-season breakdown of the neighborhood of make-believe.
Yeah. So this is the episode where the entire neighborhood of make-believe gets rearranged.
And then, like, there's a bonus segment at the end where you watch Billy Tiger or whatever it's called, and you're like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I think there's a spin-off to that now.
Don Quixote.
Sure.
I think it's cool that this stuff exists.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that it's good. I suppose it's doing something.
Well, I mean, I suppose
we're not the target audience.
I suppose good and worth watching as an adult are different frequencies, different goalposts.
Yeah.
Certainly, I've never watched the new Blue's Clues.
I mean,
why would I?
This morning,
yeah,
Mr. Rogers came on. I had it on. Didn't have the volume up, but I'd look occasionally go, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but you can't do that with Daniel Tiger or Don Quixote. Because you don't know what the hell is going on. You don't care.
Yeah. And they ended Arthur. What are they even doing anymore at PBS?
Did they?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was...
Seems like, yeah, I think I knew that.
I think it was just, they were just like, yeah, we have enough episodes of this. We're just going to air it in syndication, so we'll stop making new episodes. So they did it at the end of the final episode. They're all adults, and Arthur is like, he's a video game YouTuber or something.
Now that you mentioned that, there's the episode of Arthur with Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I was a kid, Mom got injured. I think they tripped or something, and they were bleeding all over the place, and it was freaking me out. And the TV was on, and Dad goes, "Look when Mr. Rogers is on Arthur." And then I watched that for the rest of until Mom was left to go to the hospital.
We've said that. Now I'm beginning to wonder which one of us is more accident prone.
Jeez. Well, this has been our fireside rant about our experiences making, remaking, and watching the Russ Reviews video, and hopefully the Russ Reviews videos.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do this again sometime if you guys have any questions. I guess with that, I've been Quentin Retwoos, and this has been Russ Retwoos, and that's all you retwoos and stuff.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
Yeah, there we go. That's a better one. Bible Man.
Bible Man.
Bible Man.